Let's bring in Canada's foremost NFL expert, Jim Lang. But we are airing on Game Plus television across Canada, Jim, and in 31 U.S. states. It's a hockey country. I just saw on Twitter Brad Treliving is addressing the media right now in Toronto. Is something going on, or is this just a regular thing with the GM of the Leafs?
It's a little bit of a regular thing, Ron. And part of it is that there's a big narrative going on that people said, oh, by the way, the Edmonton Oilers have more regulation wins this year than the Leafs. And the Leafs have been sort of frustratingly inconsistent. They had a 4-game winning streak. They've lost 2 in a row. They play the Panthers tomorrow night, a tough Panthers team. And people are kind of waiting for the talent and expensive talent of the Maple Leafs to consistently be a winner. They're on the fringes of the wild card, but lately Tampa Bay's looked fabulous. Boston looks like a juggernaut again this year. If you're the Maple Leafs, realistically, unless you go on an unbelievable run, you're a wild card team.
Okay. We're 20 games in.
Leaf Nation doesn't understand that, Rod.
Okay. You do, though. You get it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, part of the problem is they've had some injuries. They've had some inconsistent goaltending. It's just because you're the Leafs and you're playing a team doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's a lot of good talent out there, a lot of good young teams, and once upon a time, you could remember there was 3 or 4 teams on your schedule. It was pretty much a win, guaranteed. And I'm not sure how many times that happens now in the NHL. I mean, the Oilers looked bad for a while, and they just put 8 goals up on Anaheim last night. And all of a sudden, they're on a bit of a roll. Calgary was on the down for a while, and then Calgary got good for a while. And they've been on a bit of a roll the last 2 weeks now. So there's not a lot of margin for error in the NHL. And so if your stars aren't your stars and you don't get consistent goaltending, you're probably not going to win, let's be honest. And then the Leafs, they're good, but their back end isn't good that they can get away with their best players not being great every night.
Not many teams can, and that's a wonderful segue into football. I mean, you talk about pressure needing to win. How about college football? But you came on to talk about NFL. Frank Reich fired today. We've covered that enough. We had Tori Gurley last segment. Let me just say this. What were your takeaways out of Week 12? What are you thinking and buzzing about today?
The officiating was horrible this weekend. It's been bad all year, Rod. I'll run down a few of them. There was a missed horse collar on Josh Allen 2 feet in front of the ref in the Eagles game. Now, that didn't have anything to do with Jalen Hurts running for the winning touchdown, but it was 2 feet in front of the head referee, and they missed it. The Browns quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, is hit shoulder to shoulder. They call it a 15-yard penalty for personal foul and necessary roughness. And I saw the replay 10 times. I still don't know how they came up with that call. And I bounced around to all the games I could. I looked at all the games on social media, and every game now is just sort of tainted with a horrible call that's unexplainable, that you can't excuse the official because in a lot of cases, they are in a position looking right at the play. And that's one of the big takeaways. I think the other takeaway for me is how good Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Raiders yesterday, but man, that Baltimore Ravens team is something else. And the Eagles, they should have lost that game yesterday. They get a 59-yard field goal to tie it. And then when Jalen Hurts had to beat Jalen Hurts in overtime in a cold, wet, miserable night in Philadelphia, the Bills couldn't stop them. And that's kind of what makes the Eagles special. There's a couple of teams that are emerging that are very, very good and separating themselves from the pack. And the other big thing is, despite how the game turned out yesterday, I can't see any way that CJ Stroud, who Tori Gurley talked about in the last segment, is not the rookie of the year in the NFL. And that doesn't help everyone in Carolina either to know that they could have had CJ Stroud, and he's almost a lock for rookie of the year.
Well, don't let your owner make the picks then. Like, I was astounded when we got to the bottom of it today that the owner's making the pick. In Dallas, we don't let Jerry pick, right? You know that.
Well, but it's also Scott Fitterer, their GM, pulled off one of the I mean, this is a Herschel Walker type bad trade to move up to make the draft pick. And so right now, the Bears have the number 1 pick in the draft thanks to the traded pick. And then they still get Carolina's 2nd round pick in 2025. And the way Carolina is, they don't have a 1st round pick next year. That could be a really high pick. So, I mean, I don't know when Carolina's going to get good again, owner or no owner, because, I mean, like, and Tori's right, the cupboard's bare. They have no 1st round pick, and they don't have a 2nd round pick the year after.
They're never going to be good. And that's the point. But that's the thing. Oh, man, people tell me my scars are showing and I get triggered. But I've been around owners like this all the time. When they are insisting on making these moves and then they screw up, who are you going to point the finger at, brother? This was your call. But they find somebody. They always find somebody.
But right now, the team that's trending up most in the NFL is a team that they hired a really, really good coach, got out of his way, and let him do his job. And that's Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, who've won 5 in a row.
Oof.
Russell Wilson, his career is revitalized. Their defense looks great. And they're buying into what Sean Payton's selling. Offensively, defensively. I mean, the turnaround right now in Denver is nothing short of phenomenal. And if this keeps going the way it looks like it's going, then, Sean Payton, everyone thought, well, it was all Drew Brees. It wasn't all Drew Brees in New Orleans. Sean Payton can coach. And what he's doing in Denver and how he's turned Russell Wilson around, turned that team around, and the way they've played the last 5 weeks, it has been an incredible story in the AFC and in the NFL.
5 wins in a row, you're right. And I guess the 70-10 loss here in Miami didn't mean anything. And what I mean by that is they blocked out the noise. I don't know how they do it, but they're not the same team,
but
clearly.
That's Sean Payton. That's why you pay a coach like that kind of money, Rod, get out of his way and let him do his job. Because there's a reason he's won all those games. There's a reason he's a Super Bowl champion. There is they call it the culture. This is how we're going to do things. We gave up 70 points and lost to a great Dolphins team with a high-powered offense. Doesn't matter because we got a game in 6 days, and they'll score 70 points on us again if we're not ready. And slowly but surely, they have bought in. And I mean, Denver right now is on the outside looking into the playoffs in the AFC. But if they keep winning and some of the teams above them, like Cleveland, are battling a lot of injuries, they could be a wild card team. And that's an incredible story when you think about where Denver was at the start of the season, the way the year ended last year, and the fact they gave up 70 points to the Dolphins earlier in the season.
It would be fun if you and I just did an NFL show or an NFL and NHL show. We would absolutely crush it. Because I got the questions and you got the answers. Like this. How come every week I hear Brandon Staley's going to be fired in LA with the Chargers? Every week he's in the hot seat. See, every week they lose, and he's still not fired. What am I missing?
I don't know. The only thing I can fathom is that ownership's going to wait to Black Monday, they call it, the Monday after the last game of the regular season, and make a change then. But they are wasting Justin Herbert. They're wasting a great talent and a great quarterback. And I think Brandon Staley can't say he didn't have a chance to prove himself as a head coach in the NFL. Not at all. And the way it's going now, I don't see how they bring him back next year. That, assuming they let him just play out the rest of the regular season, maybe they want a good draft pick, then they'll make the change at the end of the season. But yeah, I know. That would have been my, Bet Regal lock of the week, that he would have been the first to go. But, Carolina was so bad, and Frank Reich, they beat them to it.
Yeah. But just when you talk about Justin Herbert, I look at the Rams getting rid of Jared Goff, and we all thought he was junk. They win a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. Now we look at what the Lions are doing with Goff. Thanksgiving Day loss to the Packers notwithstanding. It really, there's a message in there, and I'm not sure what it is.
I mean, Jared Goff, just for whatever reason, wasn't the right fit. Now, I think Jared Goff and the Lions have had a great year, but the last 2 games, Jared Goff turned the ball over a lot. Well, I mean, if you look back to Thanksgiving, if he doesn't turn the ball over that much, they probably would have been able to overcome Jordan Love's breakout game. Jordan Love was phenomenal in that win over the Lions, but Jared Goff just turned the ball over too much for the Lions. And now they have the extra time to work on it with Dan Campbell and the coaching staff. So I have some faith they're going to turn some things around. But you kind of mentioned Matt Stafford and the Rams, and they're a team that quietly starting to win some games and put up some points. So there's a lot to be decided in the NFL. There's a few teams that are really elite, like a San Francisco and a Philadelphia in the NFC, and definitely Kansas City and Baltimore in the AFC. But other than that, this is what the NFL always dreams of, that there's all these teams technically still in it deep until December. There's only a handful of teams that you can write off right now and say they don't have a chance. And Carolina is one of them. And Tori talked about it earlier. New England's definitely one of them as well.
It's been wild, and the best is yet to come. What a great Christmas we're in for. Jim, happy holidays. Thanks for this, man. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Take care, guys. All the best.